Okay, welcome back to the deep dive.
Hey there.
We're here, like always, taking that stack of sources you've sent over
Yeah.
and really digging in, trying to find those key insights, the aha moments.
And the practical stuff hidden inside.
Yeah.
Think of us as like your personal guides through all this material you shared.
And this time, wow, you've given us a really rich mix.
It's pretty diverse, isn't it?
Totally. Everything from like the nuts and bolts of time management and networking to getting really fluent in English and even tackling those big obstacles that kind of hold us back.
Those fundamental things, yeah. It's a fascinating range.
It really is a truly personalized deep dive into what matters to you right now. It feels like it's all about, feeling less overwhelmed, communicating better.
Building those connections.
Right, and just getting out of your own way sometimes.
We're excited to get into it.
Yeah, let's jump in.
Absolutely. And, the connection between all these topics, it's actually stronger than you might think at first glance. It's all part of building like a whole toolkit for success.
Okay, right. Let's kick off with something foundational then. Time management, productivity. This came up again and again in your sources.
You did.
And the material, it frames it not just as, making schedules, but almost like a superpower.
Exactly. One source literally called it the superpower that helps you reach your goals faster. Especially if you're juggling a lot like students, but honestly, it's for anyone feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's not about cramming every second, more about making deliberate choices. Where does your time go? Your energy.
A superpower to free up time, cut down stress, and actually do the things you want to do, not just the things you have to.
Precisely. It's about working smarter,
Yeah.
Getting control, making space for, a more balanced life.
So what were some of the core strategies for actually using this superpower? What did the sources highlight?
Well, the absolute bedrock mentioned all over the place is planning and scheduling.
Sounds simple, maybe.
It does, but the insight is really seeing your time visually. One source suggested a color-coded schedule, almost like a map for your week.
A roadmap, instead of just reacting all the time.
Exactly. And a really powerful technique within that, featured quite a bit, was time blocking.
Time blocking, yeah. Dividing the day up, right? Specific blocks for specific things.
Yes. And the key insight there is how it fights that feeling of being totally overwhelmed by, like, a mountain of tasks. When you actually assign work on research paper to, say, 9 to 11 a.m. Monday, it's not just this scary thing on your list anymore.
It has a place.
It has a place.
Right.
It breaks down those long, maybe daunting sessions into smaller, less intimidating chunks.
Right. It makes the elephant one bite at a time even before you start chewing on it.
Yeah, exactly.
But okay, even with the perfect schedule, distractions are real. A constant battle.
Oh, absolutely. And the sources spent a good chunk of time on this, especially, digital distractions.
Social media, notifications.
The phone just calling to you.
Yeah.
Insight. You got to be proactive. You can't just hope they go away.
Right. Creating that dedicated study space, that distraction-free fortress idea.
Yes. Whether it's just a quiet corner, a specific desk, maybe even knowing which table at the coffee shop actually works.
It's like a signal to your brain. Time to focus.
It is.
Yeah.
And if you can't physically escape, noise-canceling headphones, maybe some calming music or white noise, creating that mental bubble.
But we can't always just switch everything off, right? We need tech for stuff.
True. And the sources weren't really pushing for like a total digital blackout. It was more about mindful engagement.
Right.
The insight is controlling the tech, not letting it control you. So yeah, turning off non-essential notifications, closing tabs you don't need right now.
Being intentional with every click.
That's the key, being intentional.
That feels powerful. Just regaining control over your own attention.
Okay, so you've made the space, you're trying to be mindful. How do you tackle those really big, scary tasks? The ones you just dread?
Right. This is where the sources offered some good psychological tricks. We mentioned the eat the elephant thing, breaking it down.
One bite at a time.
But they also talked about setting mini deadlines for those smaller pieces. Gives you that sense of progress, a bit of urgency.
And that great phrase, eat that frog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love that way. The idea is simple, but honestly, it can be transformative. Tackle your hardest, most dreaded task first thing.
Get it out of the way.
Just get it done. The insight is how much mental energy and stress this frees up for the rest of the day. You rip off the Band-Aid, you feel accomplished, and suddenly everything else seems a bit easier.
Like climbing the steepest part of the hill first.
Yeah.
Makes the rest feel downhill.
Exactly. And this is all part of working smarter, not just piling on more hours. The sources really push back on that myth of multitasking.
Oh, yeah. The idea that you could do 5 things at once. Right. Which actually just makes us less efficient, scatters our focus. You end up feeling busy, but like you haven't actually achieved much.
That scattered, exhausted feeling, I definitely know that one.
The antidote, according to the sources.
Yeah.
Focused work. Things like the Pomodoro technique were mentioned, maybe implicitly.
Setting a timer, like 25 minutes on, then a break.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Dedicated work on one thing, followed by a short break. These focused bursts, even short ones, they build momentum, they bring clarity.
And using time tracking apps was another suggestion, right? To see where the time actually goes.
Yes. They're like holding up a mirror to your habits.
Yeah.
Rescue time, toggle, clockify, those kinds of things. They show you where the hours are really going.
Can't manage what you don't measure.
That's the insight, exactly. Once you see the time sinks, the black holes,
Yeah.
then you have the power to make better choices.
Know where the leaks are so you can plug them. Speaking of better choices, the sources also talked about something often seen as, well, unproductive. Downtime.
Right. Downtime, breaks, holidays.
Yeah.
They aren't just, empty periods. The insight here is that they can actually be used strategically.
Like an athlete using the off-season.
Kind of. Using a break to do a little bit of review or maybe get slightly ahead on assignments, it can make a huge difference later on.
And fundamentally, your brain just needs rest to be productive, like a muscle.
Yes, absolutely. And make those breaks active. Disconnect from the screens that drain you. Get some fresh air, move around, do things you enjoy, spend time with people.
Not luxuries, necessities.
They are necessities for refueling, for getting back your focus. Downtime is genuinely an investment in your productivity.
An investment in your most valuable asset, yourself. Okay, how do we make these good practices stick? Building habits came up.
Yeah, building good habits is like laying the foundation. The insight is that consistency creates structure. It puts productivity kind of on autopilot.
Yep.
Consistent routines for studying, sleeping, eating, exercise. They free up all that mental energy you'd otherwise spend just deciding what to do next.
Finding that rhythm that supports you.
And right at the heart of that rhythm, good sleep hygiene. The sources were crystal clear on this.
Everything starts with sleep.
Quality sleep is the absolute foundation. Trying to manage time or focus when you're sleep deprived, you're fighting a losing battle from the start.
Consistency with bedtimes, wake times, calm environment, winding down.
Exactly. And it's all connected, Managing stress through exercise or mindfulness, also mentioned in your sources, that helps sleep.
And better sleep helps you manage time and focus better.
It's a virtuous cycle, if you can get it going.
Right. Okay, so we've got strategies, habits, foundations. What else is essential for really reclaiming your time?
Learning to say no.
Ah, yes. The difficult no. It feels, counterintuitive sometimes. Or just hard.
It really does, and a lot of people struggle with it. You feel like you have to say yes, maybe to avoid disappointing someone, or you get FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
But the sources frame this as absolutely essential. For managing your energy, avoiding burnout, the insight, your time and energy are finite. They're valuable. You can't, as one source put it, pour from an empty cup.
So saying no isn't rude. It's setting boundaries, protecting what's actually important to you.
Precisely. Saying no to one thing, even if it seems like a good opportunity, lets you say a more powerful, meaningful yes to the things that truly line up with your goals, your priorities.
Making deliberate choices, not just getting swept along.
And also recognizing that life, it throws curveballs. Embracing flexibility was key, too.
Absolutely. No plan is perfect, right?
Right. No plan survives contact with reality intact. The insight is building in some wiggle room buffer time into your schedule and being willing to adjust when, stuff happens.
Go with the flow a bit more.
Yeah, flow with life's rhythm instead of trying to rigidly force it into a box.
And making sure that flexibility includes time for, joy. Fun stuff.
Oh, essential. The sources kept coming back to this. Making time for loved ones, hobbies, nature, self-care. It's not a luxury you earn after all the work is done.
It's a necessity.
It's a necessity for a balanced, fulfilling life. And honestly, when you nourish your soul, you just feel better. And that directly fuels your motivation, your ability to be productive.
It circles right back. Feeling good helps you do good work. Now, this feeling of being overwhelmed, having way too much to do this, came up again in the material about overcoming obstacles, didn't it?
It did, that classic feeling, just buried under everything.
Yeah.
And the insight from those sources is that the real solution isn't usually about magically finding more time.
It's about prioritizing.
It's about prioritizing what actually matters, figuring out what's really important and focusing your energy there, strategically.
Like a detective kind of analyzing your schedule.
Yeah, exactly. And the Eisenhower matrix came up in your sources as a really powerful tool for this, for bringing clarity.
Urgent versus important. That grid.
That's the one. Visualizing your tasks based on those two dimensions. It helps you see your to-do list, not just as, a list, but as a decision-making tool.
What needs doing now? What can wait? What maybe shouldn't be done at all?
Exactly. Let's break down those 4 boxes as the sources lay them out. First, urgent and important.
The do now stuff.
Right. Immediate deadlines, high impact. Paper due tomorrow, big exam next week. These need your focus right away. Drop everything else.
Okay. Then urgent but not important.
This is where that saying, no muscle gets a workout. These tasks demand attention. Urgent emails, some meetings, interruptions.
They feel pressing.
They feel urgent, but they don't actually move you closer to your big goals. The sources suggest pushing back, delegating, or even just questioning if you really need to do them right now.
Tricky category. Okay, third. Important but not urgent.
This is often the most neglected one. And the sources suggest that consistently working here is where the real long-term growth happens.
Like planning, learning new skills.
Exactly. Long-term projects, relationship building, strategic thinking, they don't have that immediate deadline pressure, so they're easy to put off.
Until they suddenly become urgent and important.
Precisely. The insight is you have to schedule these things proactively. Make time for them, or they just won't happen.
And the last box, neither urgent nor important.
The classic time wasters. Mindless scrolling, some TV, getting sucked into drama. The sources are pretty blunt here.
Yeah.
Cut this stuff out as much as possible.
Using the matrix really helps you see it all clearly and make those choices, like a strategic map for your energy.
It really ties back to everything we said about time management. Prioritization isn't separate. It's like the sharpest tool in that kit. It helps you decide where to focus using the habits and boundaries you've built.
And it really underlines why learning to say no is so crucial for managing that overwhelm, avoiding burnout.
Setting boundaries, knowing your limits, making sure your commitments actually align with your values, your goals. It's all about being intentional.
And embracing that balance idea from the obstacle source, too. Finding a rhythm between doing stuff and taking care of yourself.
Curating your time, listening to your needs, it's all part of the same picture.
And not forgetting those little bits of time, the gaps in the day.
Oh, yeah, that came up too. Those small pockets between classes, commute, waiting in line. We often just write them off.
But the insight is to see them as opportunities.
Exactly. Opportunities for quick wins. Reviewing notes, adding to your to-do list, maybe even a quick minute of meditation or stretching.
Be prepared, right? Have a book, notes app ready.
Precisely. Using those moments adds up.
Right.
It reinforces that feeling of being proactive, even in tiny ways, as part of the whole time management toolkit.
That's a powerful shift, yeah. Finding productivity in the margins. Okay, so we've built a really solid foundation here on managing time, focus, energy. Let's shift gears now to another critical area from your sources, networking.
Networking. Yeah, it can feel like, navigating a maze sometimes, especially if you're doing it in a language that's not your first.
Definitely adds a layer of complexity.
But the sources here really aim to demystify it. Make it less about awkward small talk.
And more about building real, valuable relationships.
Exactly. The goal isn't just like surviving the event. It's about feeling confident, starting conversations that actually go somewhere, and building connections that last.
And the sources stress this isn't just for native speakers, right? Even advanced learners hit challenges.
Oh, yeah. Spontaneity, unspoken rules, cultural nuances. It can be tricky. The key insight right from the get-go in the sources, preparation is absolutely king.
Before you even pick out your outfit, do your homework.
Totally. First, research the event itself. What's the point? Learning new stuff, making deals, recruiting. Knowing the event's goal helps shape your goals and how you approach it.
And then research who's going to be there.
Yes. Big names, potential clients, people from companies you admire. This is where the sources gave a great, really actionable insight.
If you know someone specific is attending,
do a little digging. Check out their recent work, company news, press releases. That example of the software developer researching the CTO before the conference. Perfect.
Because then you have a genuine, specific conversation starter. Hey, I read your article on X.
Exactly. It shows real interest, not just that you want something. It makes you stand out.
Yeah.
And that leads right into preparing some discussion topics.
Not a script, but just having things ready, like industry trends, hot topics.
Yeah, relevant changes, company news. Having those in your back pocket makes it so much easier to jump into a conversation or start one. Shows you're engaged.
And having clear goals for yourself for the event, what do you want to get out of it?
Yes, a job lead, partners. Just learn about trends. Your goals are like your compass while you're there.
Okay, research done, goal set. The next big piece from the sources was crafting your elevator pitch.
The quick answer to, so what do you do? Under 30 seconds, ideally?
And the insight is, it's not just your job title.
No, it's a professional snapshot. Who you are, what you do, the value you bring, maybe even why you're there.
Like Maria, the UX designer example. Her role, focus, a specific achievement, the 30% sales boost, and her goal for being there.
Yes. Concise, impactful, and it invites more conversation. The actionable tips were great. Keep it short, highlight what makes you stand out, adapt it a bit for who you're talking to.
And practice, so it sounds natural, not robotic.
Crucial. And avoid those common mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Talking way too fast.
Overloading with info.
Using tons of jargon nobody understands. Clarity and impact, that's the goal.
Okay. Prep done. Pitch ready. Now, walking into the room, nerves are normal.
Totally normal. The sources had strategies like positive self-talk, reminding yourself of your strengths.
And a clever practical tip. Arrive early.
Yes. It feels less intense with fewer people. You can get the lay of the land, maybe have one or two easy conversations first to build confidence.
And body language. Huge for first impression.
Incredibly powerful. Walk in, stand tall, open posture, make eye contact, smile. Those nonverbal cues scream confident and approachable.
Makes it easier for people to talk to you or for you to join a group.
Exactly. Like walking up to a group with that open posture. It physically shows you're open to connecting.
So how do you actually, make the approach? Start talking.
If it's a group, the sources said observe first. Look for a natural pause, or maybe you overhear something relevant. Then a polite, excuse me, couldn't help but overhear.
Provides a bridge.
Yeah, shows respect. If it's just one person, be direct but friendly. Hi, I'm Naim. I noticed you're from company. I was really interested in your recent product launch.
Again, showing you did your homework. Specific connection point.
Right. Then a friendly handshake, genuine smile, signals you're open.
Okay, you're in. Now, the dreaded small talk, especially maybe in a second language. How do you master that and move deeper?
The sources didn't dismiss small talk. They saw it as like essential social oil. It breaks the ice, builds that initial connection. It's the bridge to the important stuff.
Good go-to topics.
The event itself is easy. What did you think of the keynote? Or industry trends? How do you see AI changing things? Or professional interests? What got you into this field?
And the real skill, the sources said, is listening actively, looking for that opening to go deeper.
Yes, and asking open-ended questions. Questions that need more than a yes or no. Instead of enjoying the conference, try what's been the most insightful session for you and why.
Makes them think, share more.
And follow up on what they say. You mentioned challenges with X. What potential solutions are people talking about? Or tell me more about that project. What makes it engaging for you?
Shows you're actually listening, you're curious.
Exactly. The goal, as the sources put it, is to move past the surface level. Find those shared interests, common challenges, maybe even ways you could potentially collaborate. That's where the real value is.
And once you've made that connection, exchanging contact info is vital.
Absolutely crucial. Business cards, still useful, have them ready, but LinkedIn is pretty much essential now.
And personalize that LinkedIn request, right? Mention what you talked about.
Yes, helps them place you. Great chatting about topic at event, and then the follow-up. That's where the relationship actually starts to form.
A quick email soon after.
Yeah, quick, thoughtful. Great meeting you. Enjoyed our conversation about X. Let's stay in touch. Even better, a personalized follow-up later. Maybe share an article related to your chat. Saw this, thought of you.
Shows you are really listening and are still thinking about it. Makes a huge difference.
And if you discussed potentially working together, don't be afraid to suggest that next step, a virtual coffee, whatever, makes sense.
Okay. Finally, the sources tackled tricky situations. Because awkwardness happens, right?
In any language. Forgetting names, super common.
How to handle it smoothly.
Just be polite and direct. So sorry, my mind's gone blank. Could you remind me of your name? Maybe a little humor. My brain's overloaded with acronyms today.
And getting out of a conversation gracefully, so you're not stuck all night.
Use a polite transition. It's been great talking, but I want to make sure I connect with a few other folks before things wrap up. You could even offer an introduction. Have you met Sarah? She works on something related.
Nice way to exit and help someone else connect.
Exactly. And for feeling shy about speaking English.
Yeah, that's a big one for many.
The insight from the sources here was really profound. Focus on clear communication, not perfection. Don't hunt for the fanciest words. Paraphrase if you get stuck.
Getting your ideas across is the main thing.
It is. Most people are understanding. They want to understand you. Focus on being understood. Keep your confidence up. Your willingness to engage and share ideas matters way more than perfect grammar.
So the networking roadmap from your sources. Prep like crazy. Nail your pitch. Manage those nerves. Approach confidently. Master small talk in the transition. Follow up effectively. And handle the awkward bits with grace.
Yeah, networking in English definitely takes prep, confidence, and practice. But these strategies pulled from your sources, they really equip you. Practice that pitch. Go to events virtual or in person. Challenge yourself a bit. Reflect afterward.
Think about the doors that could open just by being a bit more strategic at the next event.
It's a powerful way to expand your world.
Speaking of communication, let's transition now to leveling up your English fluency itself. Getting beyond just functional to really expressing yourself with nuance, with impact.
And your sources offered a fantastic deep dive into vocabulary here. Not just, memorizing lists, but understanding the power of specific words, how they convey precise meaning, and really elevate your communication.
They curated a selection covering different areas, right? Opinions, describing people, work, and academic stuff, emotions, debates.
Exactly. Let's start with expressing opinions. The sources highlighted words beyond just good or bad, like articulate.
Which is more than just fluent. It's expressing ideas clearly, thoughtfully, breaking down complexity.
Yeah, making it easy for others to follow, not rambling. An articulate speaker makes complex things seem simple. Then there's eloquent.
That adds another layer. Grace, persuasion.
Exactly. Eloquence has beauty, rhythm, and eloquent speech can really move an audience. So articulate gets the message across. Eloquent gets it across beautifully, convincingly.
Choosing between them really shapes how your opinion lands.
Totally. And words like concise, saying a lot, clearly, in few words, shows respect for time, clear thinking.
Lucid was another good one.
Meaning easily understood, crystal clear, no room for confusion. A lucid explanation just clicks.
And perspicuous, that's a great word.
Isn't it? It means expressed with such clarity there's absolutely no doubt. It illuminates the idea, almost anticipates questions. A perspicuous lecture leaves nothing unclear.
Having that range lets you tailor your language. Be efficient, effective, clear.
Okay, describing people. The sources gave us words to paint richer pictures. Gregarious is.
Someone who loves company, socializing, lights up a room.
Yeah, thrives on interaction. And meticulous.
Pays super close attention to detail. Precision, accuracy.
Almost obsessive sometimes. Crucial in fields where mistakes are costly. Pragmatic.
Practical, down to earth. Focused on what works in reality.
Takes a pragmatic approach to solving problems. The insight here. Where could you use a more pragmatic view?
Good question. Astute.
Sharp, intelligent, good judgment. Sees things others miss. Quick understanding of situations, wise decisions. It's more than just smart, it's insightful. And magnanimous.
Generous, forgiving. Especially to someone maybe less powerful or who wronged them.
Yeah, it speaks to a real nobility of character. Rising above pettiness. A beautiful quality. These words let you go beyond simple labels, capture those nuances.
The sources also hit professional and academic vocabulary.
Yeah.
Stuff that boosts credibility.
Right. In business, synergy. The insight is collaboration, creating something bigger than the sum of its parts. 1 + 1 = 3, that kind of thing.
The multiplier effect. Proactive.
Taking initiative, anticipating problems, acting before they happen, being a step ahead. Really valued in the workplace. Ambiguous.
Unclear, open to interpretation. The insight. Sometimes it's intentional, but often ambiguity causes problems. Like ambiguous contract language leads to disputes. Precision matters. Entrepreneurial.
Willing to take risks, start things, innovate, build. That spirit of vision, passion, embracing uncertainty. Lucrative.
Produces significant profit or wealth. Talking about financial gain, potential return, and in academic contexts. Extrapolate.
Taking known data or trends and making predictions about the future or unknown situations. Making educated guesses based on what you know. Key research skill. Paradigm.
A dominant theory or way of thinking in a field. The insight is how a paradigm shift, like relativity in physics, fundamentally changes understanding. Cogent.
An argument that's clear, logical, convincing. Powerfully persuasive because it's well-reasoned. Esoteric.
Knowledge understood only by a small, specialized group. The insight. Caution. Using esoteric language can alienate people. Know your audience. And erudite.
Having or showing great knowledge. learning. Well-read, deep understanding. An erudite presentation impresses with its depth. These are tools, right, to communicate effectively in specific contexts, show you know your stuff.
Moving to emotions. Simple words often don't cut it.
Exactly. The sources offered words for nuance. Exuberant.
Full of energy, excitement, radiating joy.
Yes. Contagious positivity. Despondent.
Lost all hope. Deep sadness, despair.
Utterly despondent after bad news. Really struggling. Nonchalant.
Appearing calm, unconcerned, maybe under pressure. Cool indifference.
Yeah, remaining nonchalant despite danger. It can be intriguing or unsettling. What's going on underneath?
Melancholy.
A pensive, wistful sadness. Thoughtful, maybe a bit bittersweet, like an old photo evoking melancholy, a gentle longing, and ecstatic.
Pure, overwhelming happiness on top of the world.
Ecstatic after the team won. Unadulterated joy. This vocabulary just gives you more depth, more accuracy for emotions.
Finally, vocabulary for debates and discussions. Holding your own.
Right. Rebuttal. A direct counterargument to a specific point, addressing the other side head-on.
Not ignoring criticism, engaging with it. Refute.
To prove something wrong, using evidence. Stronger than just disagreeing, it's dismantling the argument.
Conundrums.
Difficult problems or dilemmas with no easy answers, like ethical conundrums and AI complex challenges needing debate. Fallacy.
A mistaken belief or flawed logic in an argument. The insight. Critical thinking. Spotting fallacies stops you from being misled. And juxtapose. Placing things side by side to compare or contrast them. Highlighting differences or similarities. Creates tension. Emphasizes distinctions.
This vocabulary equips you to participate effectively, analyze critically, be persuasive, be discerning.
It's like upgrading your communication toolkit.
Definitely.
And the sources didn't just list words, they talked about how to actually learn and use them, integrating practice into life.
Yes, that holistic approach again. Weaving English into your daily routine, not just dedicated study time.
Little things, like changing phone settings, labeling stuff.
Yeah, passive immersion. Keeps the language around you. And setting goals is key. Why are you learning? Work, travel, connection. Making those goals smart helps track progress.
Engaging with media you actually enjoy came up too. Movies, podcasts.
Crucial. Makes it feel less like homework. Exposes you to accents, natural phrasing, vocabulary, and context.
And speaking practice, the intimidating part for many.
But essential. The sources suggested accessible ways. Talking to yourself, narrating your day, practicing pronunciation, safe space, no pressure.
Or finding a language partner. Less scary than a presentation.
Much less. Online platforms like Conversation Exchange, Tandem, HelloTalk, or offline meetups, language cafes, conversation clubs found on meetup.com, finding your language tribe.
A language learning buddy system, relaxed environment.
Exactly. Makes practice less daunting, can even lead to friendships.
And for vocab building, beyond flashcards, using words in context.
Absolutely. Creating your own sentences. Noticing how words are used in things you read or hear, and learning collocations, words that naturally go together. Make a decision. Catch a cold. Makes you sound more natural.
Active listening, active reading too. Engaging deeply.
Taking notes, summarizing. Keeping a vocabulary journal helps things stick.
Staying motivated with vocab needs realistic goals, right?
Right.
Regular review.
Repetition is key. And choosing words strategically, ones relevant to your life. Personalizing it.
And pushing through frustration. Hitting that wall.
It happens. The sources say consistency, even short daily practice, beats cramming. Celebrate small wins, mastering a grammar point, having a conversation without feeling lost.
Acknowledge how far you've come.
Yes. Be patient. It's a journey. Adopt a growth mindset. Setbacks are learning opportunities. And connect with others. You're not alone.
Technology helps too. Apps, online courses.
Definitely supportive. Duolingo, Babbel for basics, Rosetta Stone for immersion, Courseratomy for specific skills. Flexibility is key. And those online communities or offline meetups, finding your people.
Leveraging all the tools to support your own path.
Building fluency, expanding vocabulary, gaining confidence. It's an ongoing process, really.
Okay, wow. So we've covered managing time and energy, connecting with others through networking, and mastering the language itself. But your sources also dug deep into those fundamental roadblocks, the things that stop us from actually using these skills effectively.
Yes, that whole section on overcoming obstacles, it really gets to the why. Why do we get stuck, even when we kind of know what we should be doing?
And while success looks different for everyone.
The obstacles are surprisingly common, aren't they? It's like a universal map of what trips us up.
First big one, fear of failure.
The sources describe this as like a deep protective instinct, Avoid potential harm, right? Failing triggers caution.
But the insight is that the fear itself often stops you from even trying.
Exactly, so you guarantee you don't succeed. By avoiding the possibility of failure, you kind of defeat yourself before you start.
That statistic was striking. Over half of people dream of starting a business, but so few do, held back by fear, financial loss, judgment.
Yeah, the fear becomes the real barrier, the antidote, according to the sources. Change your perspective. Failure isn't the end. It's data. It's learning.
Like the Thomas Edison light bulb story, thousands of attempts weren't failures.
They were steps. Each one told him something new, informed the next try. Taking the data and using it. How to start. The sources said start small, manageable risks. Build tolerance.
And reflect afterwards. What did I learn? How do I adjust?
Yes. Okay, next obstacle. Lack of clear goals.
Vague dreams don't cut it. Be happier, more successful.
Right. They don't fuel action. How do you measure that? Where's the direction? The fitness example was good. Get in shape versus run a 5K under 30 minutes by November 1st.
One's a wish, the other's an instruction manual.
Exactly. The solution offered. The SMART framework again. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound.
Forces you to define it. Make it real.
Yeah.
Actionable. Trackable.
Like the finance example. Save X amount by Y date by doing Z actions. Concrete. And breaking those SMART goals down into smaller, weekly or monthly steps keeps you motivated, makes it less overwhelming.
Builds momentum. Okay, another huge one. Procrastination.
Oh, the siren song of later. Delaying important stuff for easier things. Immediate gratification. Something like 20% of people are chronic procrastinators.
And the sources said it's not usually laziness.
Often not, no. It's more about emotional regulation. Avoiding the negative feelings tied to the task boredom, stress, overwhelm, maybe that fear of failure again. It's temporary relief.
But it always backfires, right? Stress just builds.
Totally. Like the student cramming all night. Breaking the cycle. Starts with self-awareness. Figure out your triggers. Why do you put off certain things?
Know thyself.
Yeah. Strategies include the 2-minute rule. If it takes less than 2 minutes, just do it now. Builds momentum. For bigger tasks, break it way down. Smallest possible step. Just start somewhere.
Seeking perfection. Another trap.
Yeah, it sounds like a virtue, but the sources warn it can paralyze you. High standards are good, but waiting for perfect often means you do nothing. Analysis paralysis.
Waiting for the stars to align. They never do.
And the cost. Missed opportunities, delays, exhaustion. The powerful insight. Focus on progress, not perfection. Getting something out there, even imperfect, is way better than keeping it hidden. That Reid Hoffman quote.
If you're not embarrassed by the first version.
You launched too late.
Exactly. Put it out, get feedback, learn, improve. It connects back to failure as data.
Next up, self-discipline. More important than motivation.
That's what the sources argued. Motivation is the spark, yeah, but it flickers. Self-discipline is the engine that keeps going. Real success comes from consistent effort, even when you don't feel like it.
It's the difference between doing things when you're inspired versus just showing up consistently. Think Serena Williams training year-round, or Stephen King writing daily, regardless of muse.
How do you build that engine?
Start small again. Focus on just 1 or 2 key habits,
Okay.
maybe just 15 minutes a day. Use habit trackers for that visual reinforcement, that little dopamine hit of checking it off.
Consistency builds capacity over time, less reliant on fickle motivation.
Exactly. Another obstacle, ignoring learning.
In a fast-changing world, refusing to learn means getting left behind.
Becoming obsolete. The marketing pros stuck in old ways while the internet exploded. It's like using rotary phone tools in a smartphone world. And this isn't just professional stuff. It applies to any goal.
Even Warren Buffett spends most of his day reading. Learning never stops.
Right. The proactive approach. Adopt a growth mindset. Believe you can improve. Actively seek new info books, podcasts, courses, talking to people, especially those you disagree with. And make time for it. Stay curious.
Surrounding yourself with the wrong people. Huge roadblock.
Massive influence on your thoughts, actions.
Yeah.
Negative, discouraging people. They just drag you down.
Friends who dismiss your ideas, partners resistant to change, gossipy colleagues.
It's like trying to climb a hill with people pulling you back down. That Jim Rohn quote.
You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Studies back it up. Attitude spread. The insight. Be conscious. Be intentional about your environment. Curate it.
Seek out inspiring, challenging, in a good way, supportive people. Mentors, groups.
And it's okay to limit exposure to draining relationships. Protect your energy. Build a healthy ecosystem for your goals.
Overcommitting also made the list. Saying yes to everything.
Often comes from a good place wanting to help please people. But the problem, you get spread too thin, nothing gets your best effort, you feel busy but not productive.
Success needs focus, deliberate choices.
Which links straight back to the power of saying no.
Even to good opportunities if they don't align with your priorities.
It's often more important to say no. Clarify your top values, your main goals. Then ask, does this request fit? Saying no protects your time and energy for what truly matters. Steve Jobs, simplifying Apple's products focus by subtraction.
And finally, the most basic, maybe easiest to overlook, ignoring your health.
Seems obvious, right?
Yeah.
But we sacrifice sleep, nutrition, exercise all the time for short-term productivity. The sources say that's incredibly short-sighted, unsustainable.
A stressed, sleep-deprived brain just doesn't work well, less creative, poor decisions.
Trying to run a marathon on empty, the fundamental insight really underpinning everything else. Physical and mental well-being are totally intertwined. Neglect one, you sabotage the other.
Wow. Okay. We've covered a lot of ground today. So many powerful connected insights, all drawn directly from the sources you shared.
We really have. We started with getting control of time and energy planning, prioritizing, handling distractions.
Then moved into navigating networking, building those valuable connections.
Explored leveling up communication itself, vocabulary, practice, fluency.
And finally, dug into those core internal obstacles, fear, procrastination, lack of clarity that get in the way.
And it's so clear how they all link together, isn't it? Better time management frees up energy for networking or study. Overcoming fear lets you step up in conversations or start that project. Good health supports the clarity needed for focus.
It really is a holistic picture of growth pulled right from your material. A powerful toolkit.
It is. A great collection of strategies and insights.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe here's a final thought for you. Building on that idea of overcoming obstacles. Think about just one obstacle we talked about today. Maybe it's that fear of failure or the procrastination habit, or maybe just ignoring your health. What's one tangible, small step you could commit to taking this week? Just one thing to challenge that specific obstacle.
And how might that single action start a ripple effect? Unlock greater progress in your life.
The journey of 1,000 miles.
Begins with a single step. Exactly.
Thank you again for providing such rich, insightful sources for us to dig into. It was a real privilege.
It truly was. Great stuff to work with.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Goodbye for now.